Hello, Rebels. Garrett Robinson here, independent author. Hold on, trying to plug in my headphones. There we go. Hi, I'm Garrett Robinson. I am an indie author, self-published many works from the Realm Keeper series to the upcoming Rebel Yell on August 15th, to Hit Girls, Touch, Non-Zombie, a whole bunch of other titles. And if you're watching this, then you probably already know what they all are. And if you're just finding me for the first time, you probably don't care until you've learned a little bit more about me, so I won't waste too much more of your time with them. This is my show, VlogaNovel. I currently am doing a little experiment, just started a few days ago, of writing everything that I do live online on streaming video on my YouTube channel. So if you're here, welcome. Today, if you have caught the last 3 episodes, today you will have noticed that we're doing something a little bit different today. Today I am beginning a smaller serialized project called Nightblade. And that is a that is going to be a fantasy serial that I am going to try to publish once a week. Basically, I was having a conversation with my wife today, and we were talking about a bunch of different things. We talk about my writing and filmmaking all the time and everything. And I confessed some growing frustrations with a variety of different things. And she pointed out a really excellent point, which is that basically I haven't published much recently, like at all. Actually, I haven't published anything since Wormspire, which was like back in March. So that's 4 months completely dry, no publishing. And yes, Rebel Yell is almost done now, and it's coming out on August 15th. Like that has a date, but that's still more than a month away. And she was like, "Yeah, you don't really publish things anymore. So no wonder you're a little bit frustrated by things." Because when you don't actually do things, you can get frustrated with them very easily. So I am going to start this smaller serialized project, a pretty standard serialized book, 10,000 words an episode, and I'm going to try to publish an episode every single Thursday and see how that goes. No idea if that will work at all, but I'm going to try. I worked out a little schedule type dealy. I don't know how well that shows up on camera. Oh, pretty well, actually. So I'm going to work fast this week to try and get it done by Thursday. But I'm going to outline Fridays and Saturdays, write it Sundays and Mondays, edit Tuesdays and Wednesdays, giving myself 2 days for each of these steps. Not this week, obviously. And then I'm going to export and publish it on Thursday. And then it will publish, it'll be live by Friday, which is when my email newsletter goes out, my Rebel alerts. You can sign up for those on my website, garrettbrobinson.com, etc. And I'm going to try and do that every week. Now, the thing is that 10,000 words a week is not that much. So I'm hoping that what I will be able to do is to do this every single week while I'm also working on my other big projects. So if you liked the idea of Simulator and liked seeing that bigger thing put together, I will still be working on that probably every day in addition to doing this. So there you go. That's what's going to be happening. Let's see. Things to let you know. My website is garrettbrobinson.com. You can find me there. You can find all of these videos there. They will be on their own special playlist on their own page. That page doesn't exist yet because this is the first page for this project. But it will be garrettbrobinson.com/vlog-a-novel-simulator. And as soon as I can, I'll let you know where you can pre-order it and yada yada yada. I will also be publishing when I start writing this story instead of just outlining it like I'm going to do right now. When I start writing it, it will be going up on Wattpad. So if you're a Wattpad reader, you can find it there. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, sorry, I'm just checking my timer over here. Without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so this is Nightblade. This is a fantasy story. It's going to have this is literally all I know about it right now. Fantasy story, female protagonist, and it is going to be set in the world of a very big fantasy story that I want to write one day. My big epic fantasy project, if you will. But it will not be that actual story. This will just be a person who exists in that world. And I'm hoping that by writing in that world every single week, it will help me flesh out the details of that world. So just like full disclosure right up front, like things might change, and I might retcon some things as I'm writing it, um, because when I'm getting into writing the actual epic fantasy series that's going to take place in the world, I might have to go back and change some things, minor things, like maybe the names of towns or kingdoms or whatever. I'm not gonna suddenly have, you know, I don't know, vampires start sparkling or something ridiculous like that. Who would do anything like that? But And then Nightblade, unbelievably, I went to Amazon and I searched Nightblade, and I was like, well, clearly somebody must have already taken that name. There aren't any. I mean, there are a couple of. There's one book called Nightblade, 2 words, which is not anything like what I'm going to do. So, and there's no, and it's a smaller book. It's got about, less than 100 reviews. And I thought for sure somebody would have taken that name, like for Dungeons and an official, legacy Dungeons and Dragons book, but apparently not. So it's going to be Nightblade. And I'm going to be constructing things by seasons and then by episodes and whatever. So I'm going to try to work out broad strokes for the whole season. That's what you're going to be watching right now. And then I'm going to work out details episode by episode. And let's begin. So we go into our research folder, outlining, and then one-liner. This is our one sentence that kind of describes the story for the whole season. I don't know what I'm doing. Unlike with Simulator, where the whole story idea sprang into my mind, I have no idea, no clue. What shall her name be? I keep thinking of names from Avatar: The Last Airbender because I just watched that series with my kids. I've watched it before, but we just rewatched it, and I really want to name her Katara, but I'm not going to. Let's see. Well, okay, let's just start. We can get to characters after we've done our general outline. So a young forest daughter young unassuming forest daughter is forced to leave home for some reason, and goes on epic adventures, but obviously that's a little bit too general. And through her wits and courage, rather than tremendous fighting force, travels her way across the kingdoms, across the southern kingdoms. Oh, I wanted to break tropes a little bit with this world, and that most of the civilized world in which the story takes place, rather than being, Middle Earth or like the lands of the West. I feel like we're always West because like we're a very Western-centric culture. And in this one, just to break the bounds and free myself up a little bit from like adhering to like actual Earth geography, I want it to be the Southern Kingdoms. And the other big thing is that basically imagine that this whole thing is taking place in the Southern Hemisphere, and all of the ice and snow and cold that you always find in the North, whether in Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones or whatever, you always find that the icy cold frozen wastelands are in the north, and the hot sweltering jungles and deserts are in the south. We're just going to flip that. So they are a southern kingdom, and the further south you go, the colder and more mountainous and whatever it gets. And then when you go north, you hit the jungles and the people who are not your typical kingdom dwelling people. Travels her way across the southern kingdoms, finding adventure and seeking fame as a legendary assassin named Nightblade, though she no, as a legendary thief. Sorry, not an assassin. She's not an evil person. As a legendary thief named Nightblade, though she starts out quite hapless and unimpressive. In other words, this is not a story like the like what do you call them? These good books that my friend David McCullough lent to me, where they're oh, somebody out there probably knows what I'm talking about, where they're all about this child who is brought into this order of assassins and trained from a very young age and everything. No, she wants to. She's heard stories of roguish thieves and whatever, and she wants to be like a legendary thief, and she just isn't like a good one particularly, and she just sort of gets into adventures and is like looking for people who can train her, like how to pick locks and how to pick pockets and how to scale walls and everything like that. And these things are all just stories. Like there is no thieves guild. There are no legendary thieves. There are just cutthroats and pickpockets and that sort of thing. But like this whole concept, I want to throw the whole great heroic people concept on its head. Like there is no master thief that she can go and study under, like there always is in these things. All right, so there's our one-liner. The outlining process for a serialized project is very interesting because you have to think episode, like the typical snowflake method doesn't always work necessarily, because your serialized episodes are usually much smaller than a typical novel would be. So like if you can't unfold them too far without sort of everything running into itself. So let's just expand the one-liner a little bit, and I'll figure out what to call it when it's done. And okay, let's call it the seasonal arc, because this is the first season. There are going to be 8 episodes per season, by the way. Don't know if I mentioned that already, but that's a thing. And the reason that I'm doing that is mostly for a price point thing, because these episodes are going to come out at 99 cents, and I'm not going to raise the price, unlike what I normally do with my serialized fiction, such as Hit Girls, The Realm Keepers, or whatever. I'm not going to publish and then raise the price of everything to $2.99 and then publish volumes. I'm going to publish 8 episodes, which is going to be one season, and then I'm going to publish the volume and say, hey, you will save money by going and doing this, and encourage that. But the thing that we found with Realm Keepers is that there is a certain percentage of people who want to go buy the individual episodes. So we're trying to figure out what we want to do on that exactly, but like this is actually an experiment that will just lend more data to that. Like I know that it sucks for me personally, and I'm not a big fan of that. That at selling at 99 cents, I only make 35 cents a copy. But if people really want to read that way, and there is a whole segment of people that would rather read that way, even if it's not the most economical for them, then by raising the price of everything and pushing sales to the episodes, I feel like I'm sort of cutting them off. So I want to make it clear that, like, no, if you want to be smart and save money, go buy the volumes. If you want to go buy all the episodes, that's totally cool too, and I will still get something from that. So this is an experiment that might actually have impacts on the future of the Realm Keepers series. It's a fantastic series, by the way. If you haven't read it, you should really go read it. Self-plug! Ka-ching! I really need sound effects. A young, unassuming forest daughter. Okay. By the way, anybody has any name suggestions, feel free to comment on the YouTube page, and I will be able to see your comments, theoretically, and I will answer your comments on the air. Right now, I would love any suggestions for a name. She is a young girl, comes from the forest. That's all I know about her at the moment. Okay. So let's work out a four sentence paragraph about the structure of the season as a whole. And the 4 sentences are a setup sentence, and then for a typical novel, it would be first act, second act, third act. This is going to be more like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So, but okay, so setup. So this girl is a simple forest daughter expected to marry a logger and raise children, but has grown up hearing tales, who has grown up loving tales of roguish figures. Roguish. I thought that was spelled with an E. Good thing I figured that out before writing the actual book. But has grown up loving tales of roguish figures who travel the land, taking what they wish, being good to the common folk, and never sleeping in the same bed twice in a row. Let's see, does she run away from home? There's something really appealing in a lot of fiction about the orphan character. Oh God, if your main character's parents die, especially tragically, and they're all alone and have to forge their way out in the world, something very appealing about that. I mean, Harry Potter, to a degree, Star Wars. I mean, it was Luke Skywalker's aunt and uncle, but they raised him like their parents and like his parents, and you know, they died, and he was kind of all out there alone in the world. That being said, it's a little bit of a trope. So, so do we want to use it or do we want to avoid it? We will avoid it. She runs away from home and joins. She runs away from home to find a master thief to train her, and joins a caravan traveling to the great city of the great city. We'll figure out a name later, where she went once as a child. And she'll be like well, we can figure out exact details, but I'm thinking she's going to be, I don't know, she could be like 16 or so, because this is going to be an adult project. I mean, adult. It's not going to be like, you know, it's not going to have hardcore sex scenes or like incredible violence, but I want it to be. There is a certain, one of the biggest barriers on me not having written this epic fantasy project yet is that I want to establish a certain dialogue that is unique, and not unique, that is particular to this project, like in Deadwood, the HBO series Deadwood, which if you haven't seen it, Jesus Christ, stop what you're doing and go watch Deadwood. You should not be watching the show if you haven't seen Deadwood. They speak in essentially Shakespearean verse. It's so Shakespearean, it's nuts. It's some of my favorite dialogue ever. You know, Tarantino is like way up there in terms of like my favorite like modern dialogue or whatever, but it is a period piece, and it's the Old West, and they talk like Shakespeare, and it's bananas. It's so good, and I want to establish a speech pattern like that. Anyway, I don't know how I got down that rabbit hole, but I'm trying to determine this girl's age, and I want her to be like 15, 16, but then she will have romantic interests. She will have her heart broken. She's going to go through a lot of stuff. I'm worried if that's, I don't know if that's inappropriate for, no, I guess that's not really inappropriate. I don't know. Yeah, I guess if it's not erotica, like the main thing that I think people have a real problem with is when you write like erotica with underage people, and but I think that's complete. I mean, yeah, no, screw that. If John Green can write The Fault in Our Stars and have a 15-year-old girl have sex in that, but like describe it in the way that he describes it, that it's not all freaking, it's not porn, you know, it's just teenagers doing it, and because they do sometimes. Don't do that, teenagers, if you're watching this. Okay, cool. So she'll be like in her mid-teens. She runs away from home to find a master thief to train her and joins a caravan traveling to the great city where she went once as a child. That's way too specific for this stage of the outlining process. She runs away from home and travels across the kingdom, whose name we will determine, the girl, to find a master thief to train her, having many adventures along the way, trying to keep her coin purse and her throat intact. Coin purse, not a single word? Should be. The hell is that? Trying to keep her coin purse and her... She runs away from home, travels across the kingdom to find a master thief to train her, having many adventures along the way, trying to keep her coin purse and her throat intact. Acquiring companions and having many adventures along the way, trying to keep her coin purse and her throat intact. Ooh, that's one interesting thing. I know this is going to be third person for sure, but is it going to have multiple POVs? Are we going to follow different characters? I don't feel like we can. No, I guess we can. I guess we could. I mean, it's... See, the thing is it's serialized. I do like single main characters. Oh, I don't know. I do like single main characters, but I also really like reading books with multiple POVs. Now, is it going to... Okay, well, here's going to be the determining factor. Is it going to be easier or harder in terms of a weekly production schedule? If I'm going to be turning out 10,000 words a week, is it going to be easier or harder to have one person or multiple people? A lot of people say you would think that it would be easier to have one person, because then you only need to get inside the head of one character. You only need to think of what that one character goes through. But the thing is, and what we discovered on Realm Keepers, is that it's actually much harder only being in one person's head, because, for example, things need to happen in the story, and some of those things that need to happen in the story need to happen not in front of that character. In other words, so if the main character's name is Jane, in order for things to happen that will be dramatically tense for Jane, to create dramatic tension for Jane, things need to happen that Jane can't see. And without seeing those, it can be harder to establish the story, and so on and so forth. But then again, on the other hand, I don't know. You know, splitting multiple POVs and whatever, it works for us in Realm Keepers. But me personally, I have always been much more of a single point of view kind of guy. That's just what I prefer. That's just what I do. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with single POV. So she runs away from home, acquiring companions and having many adventures along the way, trying to keep her coin purse and her throat intact. She swiftly discovers that the world is not as romantic as she thought, and soon begins to think and soon becomes convinced she had better just go home and become a logger's wife again. But just as she sets out on the road back home at last, word reaches her of a master thief who may be looking for an apprentice. Sure. We're playing it fast and loose right now, guys. Sure, that works good for me. Okay, so that's a good season 1 arc. It's going to be more about the adventure, about the girl, about establishing the world and everything, rather than, we're not going for some epic conclusion that, like, her father was dead the whole time or anything like that. So now let's go for an episode breakdown. So we've got that seasonal arc. Hello, new viewer. Hi. Comment on the YouTube. If you comment on the YouTube video, I can see your comment and I will answer it live on the air. What time are we at? More than half an hour left. Fantastic. We're doing good, guys. This is good. This is good. Okay. Episode 1. Episode 2. Episode 5. Episode 6. Episode 7. Episode 8. And that's it. That's the end of season 1. Okay. So episode 1. Again, if anybody has suggestions on names for the girl, all ideas will be taken into consideration. I might not pick your name, but I will hear it. I will hear it, and I will put it in the pot. Oh, you know what would be fun? I don't know if we have enough people. No. Okay, keep an eye on my social media. You can find me by my name on various social media. My name isn't even anywhere on this screen. That is a tremendous flaw. No, it's right there. Find me on social media if you don't already follow me on Facebook or Twitter or Google Plus or whatever. We will have a competition. Oh, that makes me nervous. We will have a competition for names of the girl and maybe things like the kingdom. Maybe not the girl. I don't know. No, scrap that idea. I'm sorry. I know it's a good idea. I know it's like very socially engaging and engaging the audience and everything, but just damn, it makes me nervous. It makes me way, way, way too nervous. Like, what if everybody? Yeah, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but like, what if there's a huge thing on social media and everything, and everybody gives their suggestions, and then everybody votes, and then like you all decide to name her Gertrude? Like, I don't want to do that. Okay, episode 1. The girl, as yet unnamed, lives in the forest. Her parents with a... Should I have an absent parent? I always do one absent parent. Let's have them both there, but let's have them be cruel. With cruel parents who can't wait, who hate her inquisitiveness and can't wait for her to be married off and out of their hair. She nurses dreams of escaping and who plot to marry her to a merchant's son so they can get the dowry. So they can get a good dowry. Okay? She lives in the forest. She's almost resigned herself to this fate until she meets a man. Ooh, this is good. She meets a man in the woods who is on the run from the law, or who's on the run from the law, until she meets a wizard in the woods who is on the run from the law. Good, that's good. I like that. He doesn't want anything to do with her, but through their conversation, he inadvertently sparks rekindles her interest in leaving her bumfuck little town. Excuse my French. He doesn't want anything to do with her, but through their conversation, he inadvertently rekindles her interest in leaving her bumfuck little town, and she helps him to escape as well. Once they're free from the town, she wakes up the next morning to find him vanished and herself out on the road all alone. Crap. I like that for our first episode. It's gonna be good. Like he inspires her to want to go, and she's like, okay, I'll get some food and some clothing and steal some shit from my little village and help you. So she gets him out of the town, and they leave, and they go out to the thing, and then she wakes up the next morning, and he's just gone, just bailed on her, which is like smart because she doesn't know anything about surviving out in the world. And if she were an unlucky girl, she would die within a few days, but she doesn't because she is a lucky girl, because we only ever write books about lucky people. Lucky people are the heroes and protagonists of all life. Whether you are doing the chosen one fiction, like The Matrix and Star Wars and Harry Potter, where the person is literally chosen by fate to save the world and restore balance, or they are an everyman type thing, like Frodo. That was one thing I didn't get to talk about in the last video. Frodo and the pretty much all of the Lord of the Rings is the best example, or my favorite example, of anti-chosen one fiction. Aragorn is the chosen one, but the book isn't about Aragorn. The book is about Frodo and Sam and Merry and Pippin, who just sort of happen to be there while all of these incredibly important and immortal and powerful individuals are playing games with the fate of the world, and Frodo and Sam and Merry and Pippin just happen to do all the right things and through their own plucky courage and determination help save the world, which is cool. I love those types of stories. I also like chosen one fiction. Star Wars and Harry Potter are fantastic. But where was I going with that line of thought? Oh, I don't know. Anyway. Episode 2, The Girl, whose name I am desperate for suggestions on. The Girl, what did we say was going to happen with our... Travels across the kingdom to find a master thief to train her, acquiring companions and having many adventures along the way. Trying to keep her coin purse in her throat. Okay, so let's see. So let's say the girl travels along the road alone, unable to go home because her village knows she stole crap and helped the wizard escape from the law. The law... Jesse Jameson chimed in and said Forrest Gump is a great example of the lucky character. Yeah, but so that's what I was saying, is that every character in almost all fiction is just pants-shittingly lucky. Like, nobody is as lucky as the people that we create in fiction, because even Frodo and Sam had these tremendous strokes of luck that without which they would not have been able to succeed. And any non-chosen one type fiction, it tends to get a little bit ridiculous. But even in Game of Thrones, which is like the least... I mean, there's prophecy and there is magic, but there isn't. It's not really chosen one. It's like the closest thing you could get to a chosen one is Daenerys Targaryen, and she's not really. And with everybody, there's like so much. Like Tyrion should have died at the Battle of the Blackwater, but the axe the axe was an inch too not far enough into his face to kill him, so he survived. Tremendous stroke of luck. There was a Kingsguard trying to kill him. The guy totally should have got him, but he didn't. Strokes of luck. So the girl is also lucky. The law nearly finds her out in the wilderness, but she's able to avoid them thanks to her woodcraft. Oh crap, here comes some research. and finds a caravan which she manages to join up with and hide from the law in. A boy a young boy becomes interested in her. Not like that. He's 12, you creep. A young boy becomes interested in her and determines to run away from his home and join her when they reach the next town. But his parents are totally awesome, and the girl doesn't understand, and the girl feels bad, and the girl would feel bad if he came with her. They hit a checkpoint before the next town. Okay, so I've just come to a decision, literally, which will need to be carried on throughout the season. But okay, so already in the beginning of episode 2, and now at the end of episode 2, she's going to have multiple run-ins with the law, who are all looking for this wizard who's on the run. So this wizard will obviously have to be a major character. So he will probably come in later in the season. I just thought he would be the device that would get her out of the town, but clearly he's already becoming more and more important, and with every new thing that I write, he becomes more and more established. Just one of those things that happens during the outlining process. They hit a checkpoint before the next town, and while she's trying to hide from the caravan, she realizes the best way to do that and not endanger the caravan is to run away again and leave the boy behind, echoing what the wizard did to her at the beginning of the episode. It's a nice little episode 2. I kind of like that. I like that. We got some little arcs. We got some already some character development happening. It's going on. It's happening. Stuff's happening. Episode 3. She's going to go to a great city. A great city. She's going to wander into a great city that she went to. The girl heads to a great city she visited once when she was a child. There will be Oh, hey, Simon. Simon chimed in, said joining very late, but watching live now. Actually, we still got 20 minutes left, buddy. You got lots of time to watch. Jesse Jameson said, let's encrypt shit in their name. Garrett Carrots for the in-depth reader. Girl is alone. Maybe her name is Lartrave Traveler or something like so. Oh, not bad. Spelling things backward. I like that. Dude, I saw this post on Tumblr the other day. Oh my God. It was an in-depth exploration of the meaning behind all of the character names in Harry Potter. And I'm not just talking about Remus Lupin, which is just, hello, but like Hermione and Harry Potter, like not just Harry, but Potter and Ron Weasley and just all these things. And it's all based off of stuff that J.K. Rowling actually wrote, and there were links to that, and I read more about it and everything. But holy crap, she built she every name was a freaking onion, man. It's just layers and layers and layers of meaning. So what was I saying? Okay, comments are coming in pretty reliably. The girl heads to a great city she visited once when she was a child. I'm just going to add a note for myself here. But there will be an orphanage in this city, which is the orphanage that Oris will come from in the main series. Like I said, this is a character and world. This is a world building serial meant to establish the world for my big epic fantasy series, and Oris is the main character of that series. And he is an orphan. I'm going full on chosen one, orphan boy, the whole shebang. But in this story, she will go. She will go to the city and she will see the orphanage. They will not, or she won't see Oris, none of that crap. But I just want to start establishing these details, because when you read that series, which will probably be bigger than this ever will be, and then you come back and you read this stuff, it's all I want there to be. I want there to be lots of tie-ins, and people go, I see. Girl heads to a great city she visited once when she was a child. She is overwhelmed by, like all country bumpkins, she is overwhelmed by how big it is and is nearly robbed, but fortunately is targeted by the worst. Simon chimed in and said, "Yay, by the way, did you see my comment about Saints Row?" I did not. Sorry about that. I will check comments on other videos after this one is done. Like all country bumpkins, she is overwhelmed by how big it is and is nearly robbed, but fortunately is targeted by the worst pickpocket in the history of the trade. And catches him, forcing him to spill some secrets that keep her from further robbery attempts. He insists on tagging along with her, first companion here. He insists on tagging along with her as she... What is she going to do in this city? What is she looking for? Oh, in her quest to find a master thief to train her, something, a person he insists doesn't exist, but she believes has to exist. While they search, he attempts to instruct her in pickpocketing with disastrous results, and the episode ends with the two of them fleeing the city guard. Okay, it's a nice little episode 3, just a little pick-me-up. I feel like, and you might have the same feeling watching this, that these things are a little sparse, that maybe you can't get a whole episode's worth out of content or something like that. That's entirely possible, and when we get into actual outlines for each episode, I might discover that, and things might need to be fleshed out significantly. But these are supposed to be the bare bones. These are supposed to be very sparse and expanded upon greatly as the outlining process goes on. So we'll see. Oh, that's interesting. Now it says I have no comments on the video whatsoever. Oh, there we go. Okay, episode 4. There's an exciting escape from the city guard, which culminates in the girl seeing the wizard who abandoned her riding from the town on a carriage. And she and her new little pickpocket in a carriage sidekick jump into the carriage because he can't call them out because he's on the run from the law too. Getting lots of emails while this is happening. I hope that's you guys commenting. Um, once they're out on the road, he tries to get them to leave, threatening to set them on fire. I need to determine for sure what kind of wizard he is, because there are 4 types of wizards in this universe, and they have opposing schools of magic. It's like a star type. Screw it. But there is elementalism. Uh, what do you call it? Like telekinetic type magic, kind of like the Force, like controlling things with your mind. And those two are sort of 2 sides of the same coin. And then the other 2 sides of the coin are like transmogrification, where you can turn other things into other things, and then there is mutation, where you can turn yourself into other things. Simon chimed in, said it was on this video. Saints Row has a character called Nightblade. Nightblade is a character who fights vampires with a samurai sword. Not to be a downer, but you might need to rethink the title. That's kind of awesome. Saints Row. What is Saints? I legitimately don't know what Saints Row is. It sounds familiar, but I don't know what that is. So anyway, and that's the thing, though. That's the thing, is that there have been lots of characters named Nightblade, but I don't think that stops one from having a book called Nightblade, because Nightblade isn't the character's name. It's I mean, it sort of is. Anyway. Let's get back to the outline. We should talk afterwards, though. Once they're out on the road, he tries to get them to leave, threatening to set them on fire. But the girl convinces him to keep them in the carriage just until the next city. And I will need to invent some contrived scenario to keep the 2 of them together. There's cool character establishment with all 3 of them, but then they're ambushed in the woods by mystics who wait until you guys meet the mystics. Then they're ambushed in the woods by mystics, and their driver turns out to have betrayed the wizard. He flees into the woods, and the girl and her sidekick chase him into the darkness. The girl and her sidekick are caught by the mystics, who turn out not to be child killers, as they feared. One of the mystics is a kindlier person than the rest and offers them transport to the city they were headed for. But the girl soon finds this is just an excuse to interrogate her about the wizard. So when they're a day away from the city, she uses a latrine break. Latrine break, I guess, when you're traveling. She's bathroom break, whatever, as an excuse to flee the mystics and make her way into the city herself, so they can't make her way into the city herself. But city is not the one they were headed for, but a great military encampment of the kingdom's army and a huge contingent of mystics to boot, and they look like they're gonna make war. So episode 6 and 7 are going, this is where things start to ramp up, obviously, a little bit. Episode 6. So Saints Row is a computer game like Grand Theft Auto. It's kind of popular in gamer circles. It's like Grand Theft Auto, and it's a character who fights vampires with a samurai sword? This is kind of like the coolest sounding video game ever. I really want to play it. But I'm not going to, but I really want to. Okay, we've only got 9 minutes left, so I might not get to finish the entire season arc, but we'll see. So episode 6, let's see here. The girl and her sidekick want to book it and head for the city that was their first target, but they'll never get far enough if they don't nick some rations. So they decide to steal them from the army, which is going to turn out brilliantly. Of course, they're fucking idiots, and they very nearly they are spotted and very nearly caught before her sidekick has the bright idea. Jesse Jameson said, in the bathroom she poops out a map contained in a small plastic bag as she had swallowed episode 5. No. I'm sorry, but no. And they are spotted and very nearly caught before her sidekick has the bright idea to steal some horses as well, upon which they're able to flee thanks to a fortunate fireball or some magical shit that blasts their pursuers and lets them escape into the night. That's going to be the wizard, who didn't specifically follow in order to help them. He followed to find out what was going on with the people who were chasing him. But then when he saw them running away from the camp, he had like a conscience step in and go, okay, I'll help them, and blasts the mystics that are chasing them or whatever. Simon chimed in again and said, yeah, it's a great series of video games where Grand Theft Auto got way serious, Saints Row got as silly as possible. You can run around in a bathrobe hitting people with a giant dildo if you want. Fantastic. It's kind of amazing. They figure it was the wizard, but aren't brave enough to go seek him out, so they follow the road toward their destination city. So they follow the road toward their destination city and reach it after a good few days' travel. When they reach the city, the local army, some local army guys, Jesus, can't type, recognize their horses as being military, but at some point during the ensuing confusion, the girl and her companion scamper off. Oof. Oh, that felt good. Okay. Episode 7. The girl and her companion look through the city for some kind of thieves guild, because she wants to be all badass, but of course no such stupid ass thing exists because seriously, how could there ever be a thieves guild that called itself that? Because like every king worth his salt would wipe the motherfuckers out. This is essentially the type of conversation that will be had with the girl, being like I know there's got to be a thieves guild, and because that's always, but like in Skyrim, for example, I loved the idea of a thieves guild. Just the concept of it was so cool. Um, but it could that it no society would allow that. Like you wouldn't you the king would just be like, we need to wipe these guys out. They keep stealing everything. I mean, maybe you'd have one king who like used to be a thief, but then like the next one, or the next one who took over in one of the violent revolutions would just be like, this is bullshit. We gotta wipe the thieves guild out. And the same thing with the assassins guilds. Like the one assassins guild that I know of, assassins guild, like actual a legitimate enterprise type thing. Um, uh, Actually, no, I can think of two in history. One was where the word assassin actually comes from, and it's linked to the word hashish. And there was a Middle Eastern man called the Old Man on the Mountain. Of course, he had an actual name. But anyway, he founded an organization of assassins who like ruled the land with terror, and everybody was afraid to act against him because if they did, he would send his drugged out assassins to go kill them, and they were very, very good, and they were around for a very, very long time. I mean, they were around for most of this guy's lifetime. And then of course there's the ninjas, who were like an actual order, and they existed, but like they weren't like it wasn't it, it wasn't a guild. And a thieves guild, I just don't think would be a thing. Like a cartel, sure, but like not something that's just like out there and like, come visit the thieves guild hall, apply for membership, because the kings or whatever would just be like, kill those motherfuckers. Okay, so the girl and her companion. She's starting to get disheartened when the city's alarm bells go berserk and they find out the city is under attack from the very army that they only recently escaped from for reasons they don't know. Simon Canton chimed in again and said the Thieves Guild could exist if they cut the king in on the profits and agreed not to steal from him. Yeah, that'd be theoretically true, but I feel like that king's like if it were a tyrannical, like really like messed up, oppressed society, yeah, I could see that. And the king was like, you're not allowed to attack the Thieves Guild or anything like that. But I really, really feel like in a normal society, the the people would be like, no, we're very much not okay with this, and they would go after the Thieves Guild, and if the king, you know, and if the king like came in and stepped in, they'd be like, well, fuck you, king, and they'd overthrow him as well. I don't know. I just always thought it was kind of a silly concept. So she's going to go in there thinking, oh, Thieves Guild, and everybody's going to be like, you are fucking stupid. For reasons they don't know, the siege on the city is incredibly dangerous, and as soldiers are pouring through the streets, killing people left and right, it looks like it's all over for the girl and her companion until something saves them. Not the wizard, because he's going to come in soon. Something that she has learned on her journey thus far. 15 seconds left. Fantastic. Looks like it's all over for the girl and her companion. until until we find out that the girl has pickpocketed some explosives that she uses to get out of the jam. That's good enough. It will be more clearly outlined and delineated when I am breaking down the episodes further. Paragraph. So this is a paragraph for each episode. That is the end of the hour, so I'm going to end this episode of VlogaNovel because I could do the last episode, but that's going to take at least 10 minutes, and I don't want to go that far over my time. So, if you want to find out what happens in episode 8 in the outline, stay tuned. Keep your eyes on this YouTube channel. Subscribe if you haven't already, because I am going to be back very shortly to finish off the outlining process and establish these characters and whatever, and then begin to write. Which is very cool. So, thank you for watching this episode of VlogaNovel. I will be back, as I said, very soon. Let's see. You can find me at my website, garrettbrobinson.com, where every episode of VlogaNovel will always be posted. You will be able to find this particular book on its own page very soon. I have to set that up. Once I start writing, you can find me on Wattpad at Garrett Robinson. Follow me on social media. That's where I always announce when I'm going live next. And I will see you for the next episode. Hope you've enjoyed this little ride. Bye.